Okay, I want to give a shout out to my newest subscriber, Tobin. Tobin Frost, you's a badass, man. It's time to teach you people about semi-permeable membranes. This goes way back for me. Constant problem for a long time. Let me show you some of the problems is that, have you ever noticed how you can smell really good pot right through the bag? Well, when you open this up, like I said, let's just start off with an initial statement that just because water doesn't get through that polymer doesn't mean that it's totally impermeable. Now, this here lovely looking pecan praline I delayed because I don't really know the other night whether it was, actually, I know it was the filling. I might be able to, but be able to eat this, especially since it's such a small amount. But when you hold this up to the nose, you can smell the vanilla right through the packaging. Just like I was telling you in another video the other night, I think I was doing it on a video about how I had handled a lemon flavored object that had this is a very tough membrane, and yet the vanilla smell is clearly coming right through. Think about that. If you can get vanilla, I'm just conjecturing here. This is nothing paranoid here. It's because it can be done. Is if you can get something that is relatively complicated as I think it doesn't say artificial, it says vanilla. It's supposed to be a very expensive little item. I bet you they paid $2 for this. $2, easy. Oh, I'm sorry, I got a cigarette in my mouth, and yet a fairly complicated molecule like the vanilla aroma there is getting through it. So that's actually some pretty tough material. It doesn't have a rip notch on it. So I'm going to try to sum this up pretty quick. Now, like them cashews in there, that's probably metallized mylar. The metal helps keep some shit out, most things out. You can't smell the cashews because they're not really a strong fragrance like vanilla. But like I said before, cashews are toxic. Actually, I think I touched something and killed it before I really finished that video. See, this is about the time, well, when I got married, I already was preferring to drink distilled water only, which some people say is bad for you. Fuck you. It's the thing you need to be able to do a nasal douche is you need a water that has nothing in it so that it can absorb the maximum amount of contaminants out of your nose and sinuses and help you to. And at the same time, I used to drink really distilled water only because I could, for one thing, afford it. And I used to, before water was a thing, before bottled water was a thing, my wife and I would be traveling or something, and I'd say, let's pick up some water. She liked it too. She liked it because it at least had a pure, clean taste. Because in some places, their water reservoirs have an algal bloom, and that nasty, it happened here in Austin here about a year or so ago, and the entire water system, there's almost no way of getting that funk out of the water without making the water very toxic. Oh, good. We're clouding up here. We're starting to get chilly. That helps me to. So as we would travel and stuff, we'd go into a supermarket, and almost 90% of the time, the distilled water would be placed in the laundry, ironing, fabric softener department, right next to those real heavy plastic liquid fabric softeners. And I've done this about a half dozen times. I would have clean, like the red cups, the red solo in the truck. And I would go up to the manager and I said, let me show you something. Take him over and say, you really need to put this water somewhere else for those of us who want to drink water. This was 20 years before bottled water was an actual thing, like a commercial commodity. The only bottled water then that was available was distilled water for irons, so that you didn't get a mineral buildup in your steam iron. And then I would take them. I said, just come out for me for a minute. I just want to make a point to help you with your product placement. And I take him outside. And I said, you see this? Can you smell anything on the outside of the bottle? And he goes, yeah, a little bit of fabric softener, but it couldn't be inside or whatever. Then have him open it, take off the cap. I tell him, smell the cup. There's nothing in the cup. Then pour the water into the cup. And I tell him, now have a little sip. And while you're sipping, breathe in and smell the perfume from the fragrance softener that you got it parked next to. Then explain the rather complicated of semi-permeable membranes. And there's plenty of polymers like the one used in this. This stuff is semi-permeable. If you set this next, because the outside of it's already smelling like it, if I had left it in contact with, actually it couldn't have gotten into the cashews because of the metal barrier. And it's a different plastic. That's metallized mylar was created to be an impermeable barrier. So that's pretty much in quick. It's, you people need to learn that just because you put it in plastic doesn't mean that you can set it next to a bottle of open perfume or shit like that, or handle it with your perfumed hands and it not get in and get into the food that's inside of it can go from those trash bags that you saw and we see still sitting there right now. I don't know. I'll have to pick them up with a handful of paper towels and throw them in the trash. Money wasted. Wasting shit's a sin. Now, do you understand the concept of because that's what reverse osmosis water filtration is about? It's a semi-permeable membrane in which they use pressure to reverse the normal osmotic process into reverse osmosis. You get my drift? Cell membranes are osmotic. They will absorb liquids and other things from around them if that membrane is designed by God to be semi-permeable. Are you grasping the concept at all yet? So I'm old, but the gentleman that I did a lot, said that he had learned so much today from me, and I'm still coherent, cogent. I've actually been up since 5 a.m. this morning. Didn't sleep a lot yesterday or last night because in a very nice hotel, they gave me a bad, worn out, sagging bed. And they're not going to get a good review from me. Now I think I know why they got some. Anyway, semi-permeable membranes. Let me see. What was the first? You remember how they did it on MASH? The gut, Splenda, causes the artificial sweetener, Splenda, causes leaky gut. Guts are already leaked. They have to leak nutrients and other stuff into your bloodstream. That's why they're there. And you can actually make a dialysis machine. That is correct in the MASH episode where they show them taking, like, I don't know, some kind of pig intestines or intestines from a cadaver. And then they set up kind of a crude dialysis machine. And it works because of membranous permeability. And in biological membranes, that permeability is specific unless you fuck it up by eating something like Splenda, or if you do a lot of carbonated drugs like carbonated caffeine, carbonated alcohol, carbonated cocaine. I'm sorry, that's crack. Carbonation helps toxins to get past that membrane known as the gut. It actually accelerates their intake. It'll get through. A lot of those will get through anyway, but carbonation accelerates toxins into the bloodstream by mechanisms that I can't fully explain because I haven't studied them. But anyway, that's it. Semi-permeable membranes. Should have gotten it done in one deal here. You get my drift? There are impermeable membranes and materials, and then there are permeable, and it's actually possible to completely seal a product and then pass a toxin into that product through that membrane. Don't tell me that the CIA ain't done it a few times. They can hand you what looks like a perfectly sealed food product like that. Now, I don't think the CIA's, problem I've been having is with Christians and just people who hate homeless people like me, period. Christian or not, so I hope you've learned something here today. Just because water has this thing called cohesion, capillary effect. Water clings to water. Are you catching some of the physics here? That's how you can draw water up a tiny little straw, just like the plants do. They use the physics of water to elevate the water against gravity. Capillary effect, cohesion, and then there's those molecules that lack any real cohesion to its brother molecule, and they're able to penetrate very easily into these kind of membranes. So that's it. Almost 14 freaking minutes teaching you a basic principle of polymeric science. By the way, your body's full of polymers. They're just not made out of this old dinosaur grease.